this is who we are, Concrete Rose Collective. So supported lodgings is one of the main things we do. We do a couple of other programs. So we have a mentoring scheme for care experienced students. Currently that's just at Cambridge University. And we're exploring some semi-independent accommodation. And we also provide a weekly hub at the moment for any young people who are estranged or care experienced in Cambridge, and that happens every Wednesday. So we do a few other things. In terms of the background, we're a community interest company, which just means a not-for-profit company. We have a Christian ethos, but we obviously support and work with those of all faiths and none. But our aim is really just to deliver first-class support to young people and really just communicate how precious and valuable we think they are. And we think one of the ways we can do that is by giving young people safe homes and putting lots of support around them. It says founded on 23 years of youth work practice. I'll have to change this number, but that's just reflects the fact that I've been in youth work a long time. Started in youth work in around 2003. But the reason that I set up both Concrete Rose and supported lodgings is because I kept seeing young people who would be in difficult home situations or leaving care. And the progression from there at 16, 17 or 18 wasn't always obvious. And it wasn't always obvious that young people would end up in a nurturing, supported place to be. So that's why both I founded Concrete Rose and set up a supported lodging scheme to try and offer a really nurturing stepping stone for young people. Just so you know, we are also Ofsted registered in case that gives us some credibility. But just so you know, Ofsted are involved and sometimes come and visit our work, which is a joy, as you can imagine. Just in terms of some stats that you might not be aware of, if we look nationally at care leavers, there are some shocking statistics out there. We know currently that 1 in 3 care leavers are homeless within 2 years of leaving care. For me, that's a bit of a public health crisis, which goes under the radar. Young people without any family support systems often have a cliff edge at 18 and end up, unfortunately, being homeless. Care leavers are still 5 times more likely to suffer a mental health crisis, which again is a shocking statistic, and much more likely to commit suicide. And in Cambridgeshire, in case you think there aren't any issues around Cambridgeshire, we know it's still the most unequal city in terms of Cambridge, but in Cambridgeshire we know that there's been an increase in youth homelessness. In fact, the biggest increase across the region, across the country, has been in the east of England. And we also know that currently 28% of young people and care leavers are in unsuitable accommodation. So it's definitely a very relevant local issue. This is one of our young people, Ozzy, with one of our hosts, Liz. And this on the left is just a quote from a young person about what supported lodging did, and I think they summed it up quite nicely. It's basically support where you're lodging. I mean, not rocket science, as the name suggests. Young people live with hosts and get a bit of support. They went on to say you get a bit of independence, but you're underneath their roof. You respect their rules, and you get support and have a bit of a safety net. I think that kind of sums up what supported lodgings is. This is another of our young people, Shola, who is doing well now at university. But in terms of why do young people come into supported lodgings, it might be a young person who's currently in care, as in they're looked after by the local authority, or it might be a young person that's leaving care, maybe at 16, 17 or 18, they're transitioning out of care and don't have anywhere to be. It might be a young person who's currently in an abusive home environment, or certainly a challenging and difficult home environment and needs to get away from that. It might be a young person who's at risk of homelessness, including young people who are sofa surfing. There's quite a lot of hidden homelessness with young people sofa surfing. It might be a young person who would be classed as an asylum-seeking young person, or it might be a young person who suffered a bereavement or tragedy. That was the case with Shola. Unfortunately, her mum sadly passed away and she didn't have anywhere to be. So those are some of the reasons why young people need supported lodgings and the needs that we look to respond to. Olivia, you'll have to, I know you don't like watching yourself, but I'm going to show you now a little video that Olivia recorded for us about 6 months ago, probably, which I think just gives a little, it's only 2 minutes, gives an overview of her story. And then we'll close the PowerPoint and come back in a time where you can ask some questions. So here we go.
I'm Olivia. I'm 20. I go to university in Nottingham Trent and do psychology. I had a really difficult relationship with my mum because my mum is an alcoholic and an addict. So when I was 15, I moved out of the house to my uncles and my aunts, and I started living there for a couple of years. And then I started doing my A levels, and my aunt got really ill. Not really ill, she had cancer, and then I had to move out back in with my mum. And there was like an incident on New Year's. The police were called, and they took me to my friend's house. And then my friend's mum got in touch with Concrete Rose, and then I got a host and started living there. My hosts were brilliant. They were without Concrete Rose, I wouldn't be doing my A levels. Full stop. Like when I first met you, I actually skipped my first mock exam because I at that point I just sort of given up, and then I got in touch with you and it gave me a bit of hope. My favourite memory from living with the hosts was probably the dinners that we had there and the barbecues, and it was just I really got on with their children. They were like a couple of years above me at school. I didn't know them before then, but yeah, they were just lovely and so welcoming, and they engaged me in conversations and they cooked me dinner, and it was just really, really nice. Without my hosts and without the help from Concrete Rose that I received, I wouldn't be in a situation that I am now, actually at uni and in a place where I can do something with my life. I want to carry on with my degree, do a master's, and then eventually become a forensic psychologist. I feel like I can actually do it now. Beforehand, it seemed so distant in a way, but now I feel like I've got the tools to actually do it. I would tell my 17-year-old self that it is going to be okay and that things will work out if you just trust people and allow people to help you. Um, and there are actually good people in the world that will support you and you're not all by yourself.
How bad was it watching yourself back, Olivia?
I hate
Yeah,
it.
yeah. Oh
Absolutely
no.
hate it.
I know it's hard watching or listening to yourself.
Mm.
Okay, so that was kind of the intro. We're going to take a bit of a pause there. Um, and at the later in the session, I'm going to go through a bit more the nuts and bolts, like how does the onboarding work and financial remittance and those kind of things. So if you got any questions around that, then you can hold them. But what we really want to do now is just give some time where you can ask some give some questions to Olivia and potentially to our other hosts, who I'm sure will give a bit of an overview of their experience, just so you can really get the sense of and the feel from people that have actually lived it a little bit more. So that is open to anyone. But so if you want to unmute and ask a question, then please do. And yeah, let's do that first for Olivia, and then I get the other host to introduce themselves, and you can ask them some questions. That sounds all right?
May I
Yeah.
start off?
Yeah,
Hey,
Caroline, please
hi
kick us off.
Olivia. Are you in Nottingham now?
Yeah, I am.
Oh, great. Good. Um, I'd love to know how the match with your host came about. Could you explain a bit? You said you got a host, but how
Mhm.
did that happen?
So obviously at the time I was staying with my friend, and her
Hmm.
mum, and my friend's mum got in touch with Mike, and I think it was more of a fact that we were in similar, so I lived in Sawston and they lived in
Hmm.
Stapleford, and it
Yeah.
just worked quite well. I had a job currently at had a job at Co-op in Sawston, so I couldn't
Hmm.
really move too far away.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I think it worked quite well. I think it was like that. I'm not too sure, but
Mm. But you
yeah.
must have met them before it was
Oh
sort of
yeah,
agreed, the two parties, and you had
yeah.
a say whether you like them and they like you. And
Hmm.
because with the you said they had older children who were still living at home. With
So most of their children had been at university. So
okay,
the
yeah.
youngest was still at Cambridge University, I think. Yeah. But when I first met them, so Mike basically took me to their house and we said hello. and it was like an informal chat sort of.
Hmm.
We sat down, talked about what we were interested in, what they do and what I do,
Yeah.
how college was and stuff like that. It was really, really informal, but
Mm.
yeah,
Oh, good. And are you still in touch with the host now?
I am. I do speak to them.
Yeah.
I mean, they're quite busy, so I don't really want to bother them too much. But they do always ask me how I'm doing, and for Christmas and stuff, they'll send cards, and it's really
Mm,
nice.
good.
Yeah,
Yeah. Well, I'm glad. Have extended family,
yeah,
even though you're away from Cambridge now. Yeah.
yeah, definitely. No, it's lovely to keep in contact with them as well,
Mm.
and like their children as well. So I found out that I knew their son previously from when I used to go to a drama club.
Okay.
How
Yeah.
close knit it sort of was.
Mm.
Um, But yeah, I'm still in contact with their children, and they always ask me how I am and want to come up to Nottingham and stuff like that. So,
Uh-huh. Yes.
yeah,
Well, it's
yeah,
a nice city. Don't blame
it
them.
is. It's very fun.
Mm. Yeah.
Great. Thanks for the question, Carl. Anybody else want to grill Olivia? Come on.
Well, I might. Can I chip in
Yeah,
another?
sorry, of course you can. Yeah.
Sorry. Um, I like that quote that was put up from the Home for Good about um, what supported lodgings is and having independence, but in someone else's home and respecting their rules. Um, how did you find that? Because if you had come from your friend's house and your aunt and uncles and your mum's home before then, um, yeah, respecting someone else's rules,
Mm.
how did that sit with you?
Um, I mean, it was fine. So obviously, I had a lot of situations when I'd been living with someone else, so I was sort of
Mm,
accustomed to it. Um,
okay, yeah.
my aunt and uncle were quite strict, so
Mm,
um, yeah. But it wasn't. It is. I think it's more. You have to learn what's acceptable for them. And obviously, when you first meet them, they give you rules and stuff. This isn't allowed. This isn't allowed. You can do this, but ask.
mm,
It's just being compassionate and being polite. It
hmm.
wasn't difficult,
No.
but yeah, it's just
And
about
do you,
communication as well.
sorry, I missed that last bit.
It's about communication as well. Like,
Communication, sure.
yeah,
Mm,
yeah.
mm.
There's no sort of issues. Not that I think
And
of.
oh, I'm glad. But do you think if there had been any
Mm.
issues, you could have turned to Mike or someone else within Concrete Rose to help out?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
Yeah.
either they would have contacted Mike or I would have contacted Mike, and then
Hmm.
I don't really know what they'd do from there, but I'm guessing like a sit down conversation or yeah.
Mm,
So
mm,
Mike would be like the mediator, I'm guessing.
yeah.
But yeah.
Mhm.
Good job, the team, Olivia. You know, that's what we do. Can you, Olivia, can I just ask, because we had to cut it out of that video, but just in terms of other support you got from Concrete Road, I mean, it's not a case of like we just put you with hosts and leave you, is
Hmm.
it? You like see you later.
Oh God, it was
um,
everything. Well, you helped me with tutoring, and so did Ed, who's from Concrete Rose as well, and he literally did my A-level coursework for me, which is really nice. And then Antoinette as well with the therapy. Um, and the food vouchers still now. So when I'm struggling at uni for money, which has been quite often, I'll message Mike and say any chance like you could help me. Um, yeah, and send a food voucher my way, which is lovely. Thank you, Mike. Or it's even like my mum doesn't drive, so I really struggled to get back and forth from uni, like moving up all my stuff. And Mike would literally help me, like he's an angel. So it's things like that. And there's so many other things you've done as well. I can't think off the top of my head. Um,
I always say to Olivia, I know she's doing well when I hear nothing from her. Like if I don't hear anything, it's great news because like things are going well.
That makes me sound
But
horrible.
no, it doesn't. That's pretty good. Like, but what's what we want to be for you, right? Isn't it? It's like
Yeah,
your safety. Now it's like we want to be your safety blanket. If
yeah,
you need it, really. That's I think that's probably natural with most. I don't know how other people's experiences are with their own children. I think if things are going well, if things are going well, it's good. You don't always need to be there, do you? But and I guess we say we have a lifelong offer of support for our young people, and that's what we want to. That's part of what we want to be able to be that safety net, like one would be to their children. We want to be to our young people, just to help them get on. Cool. Anybody else want to ask Olivia any questions?
Can I ask one, Olivia?
of
Um,
course.
uh, when you have the university vacations, do you stay up in Nottingham or do you come back to Cambridge? And if you come back, where do you live? Do you go back to your mum's, or
Hmm.
what options do you have?
So, I usually like to stay in Nottingham because for the past year I've been here, I've been really trying to find a job. That's been my main priority. So over the summer, obviously, is the best time to look for jobs. But yeah, so I'll try to come down to Cambridge for like a week or something, just to see the rest of my family and my friends, because my friends are a big important part of my life. Um, I will stay with my mum occasionally when I think it's a stable situation, but I do make a point to not stay there too long. Um, and I'm usually out the house anyway, so I don't really see much of her. But yeah, I know that if I needed somewhere to stay, I could always call up my hosts. I just don't want to bother them. But yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks, Tony. Sarah, were you going to pop in with a question?
Yeah. Hi, Olivia. I was just going to ask, the first night you moved into your hosts, how did you feel?
Oh God. I was really scared, don't get me wrong. It was a
Mm,
big change because before I'd stayed with people I know,
mm,
and I was comfortable with. But to be fair, my host made me feel really comfortable. They gave me, anything I needed. They said, "Look, we're right here if you need anything." I think for the first week, I did stay in my room quite a bit, but they
mm,
did make the effort to sort of get me out and, engage me in conversations, and they did show me around the house. The first night was pretty scary, but it soon
mm.
got a lot better.
Amazing. But yeah, I imagine that would be what it would be
Yeah.
like. But I was like, I don't know. Well
Mm,
done. Thank you.
it's all right.
Yeah, and my question sort of related to that as well. How you do make a young person who's coming into an existing kind of household feel really comfortable.
Mm,
Um, and our situation here, they would be sort of out in an annex as well, which is, could potentially make them feel a bit more isolated. But I mean,
yeah.
obviously we, try and have meals together and
Mm.
engage. But yeah, any tips on that really, so that they just feel very much part of the household as soon as possible, rather than slightly outside of it?
Mm. I'd say the annex thing is quite good because it gives them a sense of independence as well.
Mm,
Obviously, with your own room, you've got freedom, not freedom, but your own space. I think an annex would just enhance that a little bit. But I think it's about having routines as well. So if you say dinner's at a
mhm.
certain time, so you have that time together as well. Um,
Yeah.
and feel free to knock on their door. If there's that's what my host did with me, and they just knocked on
Okay.
the door and said, "Are you all right? Do you want to
Yeah.
come to dinner? Do you want to have a chat?" And I go, "Yeah," because it was just that it was someone making the effort with me, not the
Yeah.
other way around, that made me
Yeah.
a lot more comfortable. Um,
Yeah.
yeah,
Quite proactive then.
yeah,
Yeah. That
definitely.
sounds that sounds good. Thank you.
It's all right.
Great questions. Anybody else want to chip in before we move on? Good. I think Olivia, are you going to stay around a little bit?
I'll stay. Yeah.
Okay. So you might be, if you do come up with something, then Olivia will be here. But I just wonder if we can turn to hosts. So we've got the three hosts with us. Whether I could give you this slightly challenging task of summing up your hosting experience in less than 2 minutes, and then throw the kind of floor open to questions to you, that would be great. So, Tony, you're first on my screen. Can I hand to you to just a couple of minute intro?
Yeah, well, we're first from Concrete Rose as well. Turns out we were the first hosts, unbeknown to us when we applied. That's where we ended up. But we became hosts in summer of 2022. We had a young lad, Tyler, who just turned 16, who came to live with us, and he stayed with us for 2 years. He's been at CRC. In fact, he's still there now. Our kids are appreciably older. We're in their sort of late 30s, early 40s at that stage. So we had to relearn a bit about what is reasonable behaviour for 16-year-old lads and what perhaps isn't reasonable. But it was good having support from Mike, and we also had a couple who we met with every couple of months, I think it was, as sort of mentors who were able to ask probing questions and make suggestions, and we found very helpful. Yeah, we had our ups and downs in terms of frustrations of college attendance not being what it should be and things like that. But it was, given the school attendance record he had before, it was a definite improvement. And what was very touching at the end of the 2 years when Tyler left, because he's very sort of reticent in giving opinions of how he's feeling and things. So we were never too sure as to how much he really appreciated being with us and how much we were just somewhere to stay. But when he left, he said, "Well, I'll see you every month or maybe every fortnight," and we do see him regularly. We have grandchildren in the area, which we have periodically, particularly in holidays and half terms, and he gets on with them. So he quite often comes down for the day when we have them. So it's encouraging to have that sort of ongoing connection with him as well, and seeing how he is faring and still being supported by Mike very nobly.
Great, thanks, Tony. That's really helpful. I will hold it there. Sarah, can I come to you for 2 minutes?
Yeah, sure. So we had a young woman live with us for 2 years. She moved out in October. We were at a stage of life, our youngest daughter had just left for uni, so we had some space, and it seemed a good time to do that. And our young person, when she came, she was at college, but then she stopped going to college because she really wanted a job. So that took a little bit of while to find a job, but she did, and she for more than a year now, she's been working full-time in a shop in town. She's got a good job, and in October she moved out because she got a flat for herself as well. So she still lives nearby in Cambridge, and we see her from time to time. We've got a date booked in a couple of weeks because it's her birthday, and we're going to go out to dinner. So it was kind of like what we expected. Our situation was a little bit different because she traveled to the UK as an unaccompanied asylum seeking child. So there was some language and cultural difficulties or differences as well. Well, difficulties to start with, to be fair, but her English progressed loads over the time, and communication has got much easier, but from time to time it has its moments. So yeah, it's been good.
That's great. Thanks, Sarah. I saw her yesterday, by the way, and she's very excited about coming to see you.
Very excited about the meet out. She needs to pick a restaurant, but she wants me to. And I'm like, no, it's your birthday. You pick. We'll see. Who knows where we're going to go?
Yeah, no, fair enough. Great, thank you. Really helpful. Catherine Ann, I mean, you're great. Tell us where you're at.
What were you going to say there?
I was just going to say you're kind of a bit newer to the process. I mean, you've got the young person. I don't know how to explain it. We moved in the most recently. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, so quite new. So it's been just coming up 2 months now. She moved in the new year. Yeah, we are a little bit younger than Tony. So Tony and Priscilla are actually our mentors, and we're meeting with them tomorrow for lunch. So yeah, which is really lovely. So in terms of I'll get on to that. But yeah, so we've got a young person, she's 17. We're in the middle of mocks week this week, which yeah, I feel a bit like my dad when it comes to revision. I'm like, right, you've got 3 sessions in the day, these are the subjects we need to do, and all of that. But no, she's been pretty good this week, to be fair to her. Yeah, so she's got her last mock tomorrow. And yeah, so it's a bit of a shorter term placement, so it'll be about 6 months until she finishes her A levels. She's hoping to go to uni, so that's kind of the goal we're aiming for at the moment. And yeah, I guess in some ways our vibes are a bit more like a big sister and brother vibe, maybe, than parents. Just because we're a bit closer in age to her. She really loves our dog, Leonard, which is really lovely, and we get on really well. She really likes to spend time with us. You know, if after a meal, she's happy to just sit and chat away to myself for maybe like 30 or 40 minutes, and then I'm like, I need to go do something. So she's actually really chatty, which I think for a 17-year-old is maybe not that common. But it's really lovely, and we've had a pretty good time. Like, yeah, and in terms of support, so Tony and Priscilla we meet with maybe like once a month at the moment. We have lunch with them. Rachel from Concrete Rose is she'll call us once a week to see how things are going. We can kind of ask questions. We've also called her at random points, and Mike when needed for advice or kind of what to do in specific situations. And yeah, it seems to be going really well. She's great. So yeah, I don't know what else to say.
No, that's great. Thanks, Catherine. Really great summary. Thanks so much. Okay, so we're going to just throw the floor open. So if you've got any questions for Catherine and Tony, Sarah Bates, or indeed if you remember a question for Olivia, she's still here. Yeah, please do ask away, and we'll just give a little bit of time to that.
I've got a quick question about food, as I often do. Do you all cook for your young people almost every day, or how do the meals work? I'm sure it varies depending who you've got, but I'd be just interested in how that works. And do you have is it very regular? Do you just sort of say, yeah, we always eat at 7, or what? Thank you.
Shall I kick off on that? We were, one of the things we said when our lodger came along was that where possible we'd like to have the evening meal together. So yes, we would eat together in the evening, within a sort of not a specific time, but sort of round about sort of 6:30ish. So we knew what the time was, and fairly soon we managed to persuade Tyler that he could cook for us once a week. So he would do that. We get the food in, or if he needed to get things that he had to, wanted to choose, he'd do that. But generally, yeah, we feel the meal times is an important period, and so we wouldn't want to encourage regular separate eating, because it's as Catherine was saying, you sort of chat over the meal, but also can stay chatting after the meal, and it's an important part of point of contact. So yeah, that's how we did it. So yes, so 6 days a week we'd typically be cooking, and Tyler would do 1 day a week.
Thanks, Tony. To Sarah, sorry, Catherine, go.
I was just going to answer from a slightly different perspective. Well, it's very similar, but so we share dinner with Carolina most nights, not every night because we're not always in. And then in terms of her cooking, she's not as independent as I guess some people might be. So one of us will cook with her at the moment. And I would also say something that I probably hadn't thought about is young people are probably they're used to like the cooking that they've received, and you might be used to a different like style of cooking or different dishes. So we've we've been working out what things Carolina likes, what things are more normal for her. She comes from a different background culturally, so and she doesn't always tell you. So yeah, but there are some things she's worked out that she really likes. There's some things she doesn't like green veg. Like tonight I did like a leftover pasta bake, and I told her what was in it, and I said, "Oh, there's celery." She said, "I hate celery." Shouldn't have told you, and you would have been fine. But yeah, so I guess it just depends. But Carolina also has her own like food cupboard. Each week I'll ask her, is there anything you want, you know, breakfast or snacks or even like lunches, though she normally gets lunch in school. So, you know, she'll kind of suggest different things to add to the food shop. But I guess it just depends on the young person and yourselves and what works for you guys and them. So
yeah.
Great, thanks, Catherine. Sarah, your experience was quite different, wasn't it, with your young person, given that culturally it was very different. So it'd just be good to, I mean, I think it just highlights that every young person's different, right? So just your experience with that.
Yeah, we started off trying to cook and eat together because I would agree with Tony that that's a great time to socialize, but our food tastes and backgrounds were very different and very culturally different, and to a point of being slightly intolerable to each other, let's say. There was a spice level difference, which was a bit hard. We had a lot of arguments about coffee as well, but I think we got there in the end. But then we do different things, and we might eat separate food, but at the same time, or we'd eat first, but then still sit around at the table. And we did work out some things that we could eat well together. And from time to time, either she would cook or we would cook. But even if we weren't eating the food, we'd maybe have a cup of tea or coffee and like play a game in a kind of after dinner kind of way. So, and then once she started working, the timings were quite often different as well. Some of her shifts were different. So she mainly cooked independently and was quite happy to do that, which was easy in some ways, but sometimes a bit frustrating because the pan I might have been a new, you know, there was little niggles, if we're being honest, but it kind of what we worked out what worked for us most of the time. Yeah.
Right. Thanks, Sarah. Any other questions?
Could I just add on to that? Sorry.
Yeah, no, Olivia, please.
So,
Of course.
my hosts were vegetarian, so they did cook dinner every night, and they asked me if I'd want to eat with them, and the majority of the time I would say yeah, but they'd also add on like meat and chicken onto the shopping list. So if I wanted to, I could just go and make myself something. And they always asked me if I wanted snacks, or my host used to make the best cakes ever, so I used to always eat them. And yeah, honestly, because they were vegetarian, they ate different meals. That they made different meals to what I did. Um, and it was really nice actually. It was some meals I've never even tried. So yeah, I just wanted to add that on. Sorry.
No, it's helpful. It's really good. Thank you. Great. Any other questions?
Sorry, before I was a parent, I was a teacher. So I'm going to ask Tony if I may, because as you're not parentally responsible for the young person, and if they are skipping school, how is that handled?
Yes, I think there's a slightly grey area because fairly early on we had to sign a sort of parental permission form for Tyler to go on a trip or something because there was nobody else would sign it. So we sort of did that, but we, as you say, we had no legal parental responsibilities for him. But the way it worked when the college contacted us, it was a bit of a joint thing with Mike, really. I think Mike, to begin with, was the main point of contact with the college in terms of attendance. But when we had to have a meeting, a three-way meeting between them, Tyler, and ourselves, then we went along and Mike went along, because we're all, ourselves and Mike are all concerned to encourage him as best we can. And I suppose where we are, he's living in our house, we're the ones who can wake him up and tell him what time it is and ask him why he's not gone to college, sort of thing, the nicest possible way, of course. But yeah, at the end of the day, if he doesn't want to go to college, he doesn't go to college. You can only do so much. But we were impressed at when we had meetings with CRC that they weren't, whilst they might threaten things, they really, their aim was to encourage him and improve him and get him to continue with his course. They weren't going to throw him out. And there is at CRC, there's clearly a very big emphasis on helping people get through their GCSEs in English and maths, which, when Tyler came to us, he had one GCSE in catering, but he needs the English and maths to progress in his career path. And, I think probably most of the children, teenagers who go there are in that position of having to be doing the GCSEs alongside the vocational courses. But yeah, it's not easy, and it's a persuading and cajoling, because as much as one can, really, for that, and helping, trying to make it easier for him as much as one can, really.
Great, thanks, Tony. Any other questions from the floor? Chris, have you got anything you wanted to pose? No, Chris.
Well, I would really like to comment. Well, I'd admire what everybody is doing with Concrete Rose. Mary and myself, we've got a sort of spare bedroom when we don't have visitors, but we lead such hectic and quite often different lives that sometimes being at home is, well, tonight I'm on my own because she's taken an old lady to the theatre. I'm at SSYI Youth Club 2 or 3 times a week in the afternoon. And this is where I see the sort of young people that you're catering for as they get that little bit older. And sometimes you really feel there's so much need amongst those who have a need at all, or even those you think are sort of well backed up by their parents. You still realise they need confidence. They don't necessarily get that at home. And my involvement, my interest is really seeing young people set on the right road for their future. So whether I'm working in sort of in church, in youth work there, or with SSYI, the club, I really feel, almost wish I had time to, say, engage with one youngster at a time. On the other hand, of course, there's a lot of you have to give up in terms of your independence. I sometimes get an evening at home, like this evening, just on my own to think and contemplate the world. What I really want, a simple question, I think my best contribution, I admire the work you do, is to do something financial, and just to say, what is the easiest way of doing that?
Oh, well, that's very...
Give me your bank account details.
Very kind, Chris. Yeah, well, I'll if you could put your email in the chat, I'm sure I've got it, because we know each other from SSY, don't we? So, but if not, just put it in the chat and I'll get in touch with that. But yeah, I mean, you do phenomenal stuff with SSY as well, Chris. So hats off to you. But yeah, do put your email and we can sort that out. Okay, any Sarah or Caroline, any more questions you wanted to ask hosts before we just go through some nuts and bolts stuff? No worries. I'll go through.
Yes, sorry.
Sorry,
I just had to unmute myself.
No.
Can I confession, I know KA quite well. Sarah, may I ask, would you offer supported lodgings again?
It's funny, I was just talking to my husband about that before we went out. I would say yes, but currently I have elderly parents who are local, and so no, not right now. But
right.
Well, without thinking of the sad change in situations, but possibly yes would be the answer to that.
Yeah. Thank you.
But it's also nice to have a little break too.
Yes, if I can answer on ours as well, that Tyler left us in, well, I suppose 18 months ago now, and we felt we'd like a break for a bit, and then we said to Mike that we would be happy to resume, but we'd like to have shorter term people. So we ended up having somebody over the summer from the student mentoring program who needed somewhere for the summer, and that was lovely. It was a Muslim lass who very outgoing, and a lot older than Tyler, very different sort of chalk and cheese, but yeah, we enjoyed that. At the moment, we have a friend from church whose marriage imploded living with us for a few months, so we're not in a position to. So we will review the situation. I think he'll be leaving at the end of March, probably, but we'll review the situation at that point, and certainly we're open to it. But I suppose probably thinking in terms of less than the 2-year period, we feel it. We'd rather have something at our stage in life a little bit shorter than that. Yeah.
Great, thanks, Tony.
Can I just say also? So sorry, Caroline knows me through church, and she prays for us as well, which is really lovely to do with our young person. But one thing that was really helpful, we basically went on a call like this maybe a year ago, or like less than a year ago, stayed behind at the end, and we're like, look, we can't offer a 2-year placement. And Concrete Rose, like, they're very flexible and very much work with the hosts as well as the young people to match someone, and it's been really cool because it's just timing wise has worked quite well for us and for the young person in terms of the placement length, which is really nice. So Concrete Rose can be really flexible, which we weren't expecting necessarily, because we were like, really sorry, we can't do 2 years. But no, they were really great throughout that. So that's, if that's helpful, that's, yeah.
Great, thanks, Catherine. Appreciate that. Okay, I'm just going to run through some nuts and bolts of things, which won't take any longer than 5 minutes, and we won't finish any later than 8. And then, so if anything pops up when I go through nuts and bolts, we can quickly answer them at the end, and then we'll go from there. So hopefully you can see this screen. Trusting you can see the screen. So just in terms of what support do we offer, in terms of hosts, obviously we'll give you lots of training. You get 24/7 on-call support. We'll sign you up to something called Foster Talk. You'll get weekly check-ins, as Catherine now mentioned. You get weekly check-ins from Rachel. We'll offer something called clinical, or sometimes we call it pastoral supervision, which is somebody outside of Concrete Rose, although obviously attached to us, who you can talk to about how things are going and how you're feeling in the present time and how you might want to process some of your emotions in it. And you do get a kind of financial rental remittance for hosting. In terms of our young people, obviously the main support comes from hosts, but every young person gets weekly kind of youth work support or support from our core team or from a mentor, and they'll also get weekly check-ins. And as Olivia mentioned, we do organise therapy sessions if that's a good thing, and we try and provide a little extra financial support where young people need it. And as both Olivia mentioned, I'm the young person that's living with Catherine Ann at the moment. We've sorted out a bit of kind of tutoring in their circumstances just to help them along the way. So we try and put loads of support, I guess is what I'm saying, both for hosts and for young people. Just in terms of how the financial support looks, it's very difficult to be exact on this because it all differs a little bit depending on location is one thing, and on the status of the young person, whether they're officially in care or leaving care, or an asylum seeking child. So we can't be exact on every circumstance, but it's generally somewhere between £618, 600 and £800 per month, and that includes a little contribution from the young person towards food, as it says there. But yeah, we'll kind of chat that through with you during the application process. Oh, this is Sarah. Sarah, this is you on the photo with your young person making banana bread, I think. Good photo. Just a little bit about the difference between supported lodgings and foster care, because it might be something you're kind of weighing up. It's a question I get asked a lot. What's the difference, really? And just to very briefly go through it, obviously age is a bit of a difference, because in foster care you could get a young person anywhere between 0 and 18, whereas supported lodgings, it's definitely 16 plus. That is our age bracket. And we do say up to 23, but to be honest, most of our young people come in between 16 and 19. We do expect most of our hosts or quite a lot of our hosts are still working, and we do definitely expect you to be able to continue with that and continue with hobbies. It can be a bit trickier sometimes in foster care. Some foster care agencies ask that at least one member of the household is not working. Obviously, that's not the case for supported lodgings. The next thing is about access to appointments. In supported lodgings, we're trying to help the young person become independent. So it's very much a facilitation role where you have to take a bit more responsibility for that if the young person is in you in a foster care setting. And the same for washing and cooking. And the other difference is obviously financial. Foster care does pay a much higher financial remittance, and if it's something you want to do as a vocation, then we think foster care is great, and we would encourage you to look at that. But if you're looking at an older age group and maybe continue to work in, then supported lodgings is probably a good fit, but the financial remuneration is a little bit lower. Hopefully that's helpful. In terms of how the application process, well, we start with a kind of initial chat, and we'll normally either come and do a home visit or do a virtual home visit. Then we'll ask you to fill in an application form. And then we'll really spend some time getting to know you and your circumstances and your situation. That normally includes a couple of home visits and a home assessment where we have to just risk assess your home. It's not something to be worried about. We're just it's just some boxes we have to check and tick, but we will help you make sure that everything is in place. Don't worry if it's not perfect. Then we'll give you a lot of training and induction. All our hosts are approved by an independent panel. Just so you know, that is a step in the process. And then it comes to pairing you with the right young person. And what we'll do is take all that information we've gathered over those preceding visits to get the right match with the right young person. That includes how long you're able to host, where you are, what kind of young person you feel might fit in well with you. So we'll try and do our best to get that right. And then obviously after that is all the ongoing training and support.
What I'd say.
Oh, I'll show you one more video to finish, just of Ozzy, who's another young person, and then.
What I'd say to potential hosts is don't be scared. Don't think that every young person like me that's in a bad situation will be a bad person. I'd like to say thank you to my hosts for taking me in, and a big thank you to Concrete Rose for helping me as well.
Okay, there you go. That was Ozzy, and here ends the presentation. So if we've got 2 minutes. If anyone's got any final questions they want to ask Olivia, host, or me, we've probably got time for maybe 1 or 2 questions. Let's do that now.
Me again. I think I had mentioned to Rachel in an email correspondence, our children are still at home, so 11 and 13, and they have been in the care system. They joined our family 6.5 years ago, and so really our prime concern in wanting to offer supported lodgings is how that might affect them. If they're quite excited, we've talked a bit about with them, having a big brother or sister in the home. But yeah, any thoughts, advice from?
Yeah, and Yeah, well, great question. And I think that would be our prime consideration. Wherever there are children still at home, they're very much at the forefront of our thoughts. And we try and take young people a bit on, the children on a bit on a journey, so involve them in the right points to feel some ownership of it. But B, when I'd say it comes to kind of matching with the right young person, that's very much a collaborative process. It's not a case of we say, oh, here's a top young person we've got on our list, they're coming to you. The way it would work is we'd work together. We might do an initial triage of a young person we think is appropriate, but then we'd come to you and have a discussion from the information we have. We'd normally have a referral form to say, well, what do you think? Does it sound like this could be a good fit? And then we'd go and meet the young person, get to know them, as I met Olivia at a friend's house, get to know a bit about them, a bit about their background, who they are, what they're doing. And then we'd come back to you and say, well, this is what we've gathered. How does that feel? And well, how does that sound to you? And then normally we do at least 2 home visits. One's quite short, where it's just to kind of pop in, say hello, have a quick drink, see the room, and both parties can step aside and give us feedback. And then one's a bit longer, where maybe you'd have a meal and we'd step out because that's a bit more realistic. And again, after that, there'd be a chance to kind of feedback from both sides to see if it's a good fit. And we have once done a kind of overnight stay as well as a third step, just to kind of make sure that's been a bit more of a recent kind of addition. But in all those points, there's a kind of opportunity to kind of feedback as to whether we feel it's a good fit for both sides. But so it's really collaborative. Like it's not we really want to try and get that right, and we'd rather spend a long time on the same pairing than and make sure it works than do it quickly. So
great, that's good to hear. Thank you.
I was going to say something.
I'm just going to check that said children are doing what they should be doing. But I'm going to say thank you very much. Apologies for coughing.
No worries.
Go on, KA, have the last word.
Go on.
I was just going to say something else that might be helpful is we had quite long chats with Rachel beforehand where she asked us lots of questions about would you be comfortable with this type of person or kind of different preferences that you have. And we were able to be really open and honest. And I think that was probably part of the matching process. So that happens way before. And so I think there were maybe 2 or 3 meetings with Rachel where she went through a list of questions of things that we thought actually that's not suitable for our home or for us, or yes, that sounds fine and that kind of thing. So that also might be helpful when it comes to knowing your kids' preference, like not preferences, but do you know what I mean? Their personalities and what might fit best and all of that. So, yeah.
That's great. Thanks, Castellan. Okay, so I want to honour everybody's time. You committed to late, so we'll draw it to a close there. I'm sure Rachel and I can stay around for a few minutes if you've got stuff. But thank you. Thanks so much, hosts, for coming along. Olivia, thanks for taking time out. It's really appreciated. And thank everybody who's interested for coming along. And we hope to speak to you again soon.
Yeah.